You were living in Yugoslavia?
Previous Yugoslavia, if you follow the news and what's going on, it fall apart, and now it's part of Croatia. Mm-hmm. My parents, my mom was a homestay mom. Mm-hmm. My father was a tailor, and he had small shop of his own. He had 2 or 3 workers working for him, and they were making suits.
What were the circumstances in which you ended up in the concentration camp?
I don't know how to answer that. Only what I know, it is then one day somebody knocked on our door. It was people in uniforms, and they came inside and they put yellow band with Jewish star on our arms, and we were told that we cannot take by any means that off, and we cannot be seen on the streets after, I'm not sure, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening.
Mm-hmm. Just to kind of go back, was there a city in Yugoslavia or?
It was a city called Bjelovar. In translation is White City.
What was your father's name?
Alexander Kohn.
Your mother?
Katinka Kohn. Her maiden name was Strenger. Exactly how I said, Strenger. And I have an older brother. He was 7 years older than I was. His name was Vladimir Kohn.
Was he also, did he also die in the camp?
Yes, he did.
You were the only one of your immediate family to survive?
To survive, yes.
What was the overall thing you remember the most about being in the camp?
I have few things what left impact on me. Like one thing was we have to walk. We have to stay in line and walk uphill. It was very, very steep. And we will get our only one rationing of the day of meals. And I was supposed to stay in the line. And I walk a little bit out of the line, and guard pushed me, and I spill my soup, and my mother gave me her soup. My aunt, my father's sister, she was the only one in family. She was married to a Catholic man. And on her and her husband's request, talking to the priest, Catholic priest from Croatian church. At that time, he was very well known, and he's helping Jewish children. She sent a letter telling in the letter about how my father was a good man, and he helped her and her husband to put their business to go, and now they feel they would like to take care of me. Mm-hmm. And she didn't know what is going to happen. I just one day show up.
Mm-hmm. She made the request not knowing what was going to happen.
No, she just did it.
Mm-hmm. What was her name?
Dragica.
Dragica?
Mm-hmm.
Is that spelled?
D-R G
mm-hmm.
I-C-A.
Thanks. So you lived through the 13 months of being in a concentration camp.
I was 13 months in concentration camp. After that, I came to her house, and she took care of me and 2 more children.
So, after you got out, after you went to live, how long did you live with Dragica?
Oh, I cannot tell you, it must be probably 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the exact year or kind of the year that you went into the camp?
It must be, no, because I was 13 months in the camp.
You end up going to live with your aunt. Was this in Yugoslavia at the time, or was this in?
It was in the Yugoslavia at that time.
Was this like in a city or out in the country?
It was a city. Zagreb was the capital of Croatia.
Was it like an apartment setting, or?
It was apartment, it was basement apartment, lower level apartment.
You moved in with her, lived with her for 2.5 years, as you say.
The rest of my life, I actually...
The rest of your life?
I mean, till I got married, till I got on my own.
The rest of your childhood?
Yeah, the rest of my childhood. That is the...
What was that like, living in that situation during that time of, history?
It was very, very difficult. He wouldn't let us go out and play with children because she was afraid that somebody of the neighbors will tell that she's hiding. Actually, she was hiding three children.
Mm-hmm. I guess fair to say danger all around?
Danger all around.
When you went to, what were some of the adjustments like? I guess it was an adjustment going from the concentration camp to living with her. Can you talk a little bit about how that was different?
Oh my God, it was very, very different. In camp, I was always cold and I was always hungry. And I feel then I'm left with, then I'm all by myself. Mm-hmm. When I came to my aunt, I got care, loving care. And at that time, whatever was possible, she found for us, then we have it.
Mm-hmm. So she's, and then from there until you got married. When did you get married?
November 28, 1958.
And who was your husband?
Dan, D-A-N, Stockhammer, S-T-O-C-K-H-A-M-M-E.
M-D. Was a doctor?
He was a doctor. He graduated at 12 o'clock that day, and 5 o'clock we got married.
Wow.
And we spent...
Tell them why.
Oh, because in our time, if you are a student and you get married before you graduate, you never graduate. And he has to promise his father and his aunt, then he will graduate, and after that he will get married.
Oh, man. You were in a very war-torn part of the world at the time.
Yes.
At the end of World War II, when it was finally all over. What was that like?
It was very, very difficult. The day of the liberation, I spent outside of the house. I was sitting on the edge of the sidewalk, and I have loaf of bread in my lap, and I was waiting for my father to come. And it took maybe 2 days. My aunt will come out and said, Lea, come in, come in. Finally, after 2 days, she said, Lea, if your father is alive, he is going to find us.
And he never did.
He never did.
You kept up hope through the whole thing.
Yes, I did.
Were you in a position where you're keeping up hope for your mother, or had you already been away?
No, I did not, because I was with her when she was killed.
So, when you're moving on, and I guess obviously when you're in a part of the world that's so torn up from war, the economy, everybody's poor.
Exactly.
Nobody has
Anything.
How did you go about getting things?
Well, my aunt was making forters.
Comforters.
Yeah.
For beds.
Bedspreads.
Yeah.
And she will sell on the flea market. And her husband was an upholstery man. He brings some money. And this is how we survive.
How do you end up in the United States?
First of all, my husband and I, we were never members of communist country. Over there, if you are not member of communist country, you cannot get...
The Communist Party.
You cannot get what you wish. Like my husband, we couldn't get apartment in the big city. He couldn't get residency or specialty what he wants. Then we have to go to smaller town. Mm-hmm. And we were not very happy. I was folklore dancer. That was my hobby. And I danced for the very prominent group. And they sent us out. I was one in the Switzerland, one in the Paris, and one I was in the Italy. And I got taste what it means to live in free country. And my husband also went one to Switzerland. He was sent by Jewish community centers for some business. Mm-hmm. And we have family in America. And we decide then we want to give our children much better than we have. And we never feel over there like we belong there. And it was very, very difficult to come at that time. My husband quit his job and he was unemployed, what is unheardable because they need doctors left and right. And all of a sudden doctors in the hospital where he works, colleague, they knew that we have a family and they expected what we are going to do. And he was told they wouldn't give him visa to go. He said, then we are going just for 1 year for postgraduate. And they said, okay, you can go, but your wife and your daughter, she was not 6 years old, she can stay here and we will take good care of them. And my husband said, no, that is just one chance in the lifetime And if I go, my wife is going with me and my child is going with me. And they were kind of skeptical. Then he said, you know what, I'm Jewish and I can go to Israel. But that moment they gave him okay.
So they would rather he went to America than Israel?
I don't know. I cannot say that.
Okay.
That is not what I meant. That was his excuse. Why would you let me go? Mm-hmm. Because I can go to Israel, and from Israel I can go to America whenever I want.
Oh, okay.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again,
It is complicated.
it is. It is. And especially, I'm I've never been out, very seldom have been out of the country. I don't understand how the politics of the time when you were growing up.
Oh boy, you missed so much in your life.
I've lived a boring life compared to you.
Okay.
That's probably a good thing. You talk about, you have the struggles of living in a concentration camp, and then the struggles of living in a war-torn area after the war as it's rebuilding. But I guess the struggle that people don't think about is living in a communist country.
Actually, that was not the biggest problem because president of Yugoslavia at that time was Josip Broz Tito, and he was very good to Jewish people. Mm-hmm. He will let us go if we wish to Israel. Government will pay for whatever we want to take with us, except if you own real estate, you have to live with government. Mm-hmm. What difficulty I have, it was in school. I was absent-minded, I couldn't concentrate, and I was put, big girl in the first grade, and children was making fun. You can imagine when children can do to you. Mm-hmm. And I have hard time to finish school. I didn't go to college. When I finished school, I took typing lessons, and I was working for the company. I was a bookkeeper. Did you get it?
Yes, I do now.
Okay. Before you type it, call me. Then I can correct.
No, I'm happy to take any hints, any.
Okay.
I think that just makes a little more sense to you now, right?
It does. Yeah. It does. Yes, definitely. That shows another adjustment after your ordeal, getting on with the rest of your life. And
you never adjust.
Even after your ordeal in the concentration camp, were there nights where you woke up and felt like you were still there? Did you relive it at all? I mean, how did you react? How did you? You never forget, as you say.
You never forget, but you cannot live with hatred in your whole life.
Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to were you automatically like that right out of the concentration camp, or did it take you years?
It take me few years.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can you talk about that transition? Learning to live, without the anger and the hurt?
Well, I was involved very much in Jewish community, and we have wonderful time over there. My husband and I was always scared of uniformed people. If they walk on our side, we will go to the other side of the street. The same was happening when we came to Chicago. We still have that fear in us. That was scary thing for me. I watch television. This is how first of all, when I came, I didn't speak a single word of English. My husband was right away, next day on call, and maybe a week later, I took Ruth to school with dictionary in my hand and the map of Chicago. And I write down my address, then I know how to return and come back. It was very, very difficult.
How long did it take you to learn English to where you could get around and do things?
Pretty long time. Mm-hmm. When I start to talk, I was still afraid and it is not good enough and I will find excuses and I didn't want to talk to people. Mm-hmm. Let me put it this way.
How did you learn English? How did you finally learn?
I learned from television, mm-hmm. and most from my daughter. We arrived in January, and during the summer, we sent her in day camp. And after 2 months spending in day camp, she was fluent in English. And I didn't try to talk to her in English. We spoke Croatian. This is why she's fluent now in Croatian, both of them. And I was watching TV, and in the hospital, when my husband was working, it was an evening school for very short time. And I was attending that school. Mm-hmm. My husband started to work Monday, and I was at home all the time by the telephone because he will call me and ask me, Lea, would you please look in dictionary how to say this, how to say that. He speaks some English. He took secretly in Croatia English lessons. But when we came to America, it was not even English American, it was English. Mm-hmm. And he had also a difficult time, but for him was much easier than for me.
Again, when you were trying to get out of Croatia, was taking the English language in secret, was that so nobody would know that you were thinking of leaving the country?
I didn't take in Croatia any English lessons.
Well, your husband?
He did, secretly.
And that was so nobody would know he was...
No, but exactly. What year we got in America?
Yes.
January 8, 1966. It was the winter time. It was Saturday we arrived. We spent the night in my family. What I have here. That time I have here, and the next day they took us to the apartment. We got apartment from the hospital when my husband got his residency, and it was beautiful, 1-bedroom apartment with everything what I can imagine, what I didn't have.
What amazed you most about that apartment?
Then we have running water as much as we can. Use it.
No limit on running water?
No limit. And Ruth, she was taking bubble baths three times a day.
That just shows
human side of side of the story.
Your daughter you went from a place where you were, had to limit your water usage to a place where your daughter could take 3 bubble baths a day.
That's right. And when we live, it was in Croatia, it was about 10 of us, and we have just 1 bathroom. What is the luxury? Some people, they didn't have that. the situation in communist country, if you own apartment, what is they feel that is too big for you, they will tell you, you can own 1 bedroom, and in 1 bedroom we will put another family. Then you have to share kitchen and bathroom and toilet, everything. And that was unthinkable.
Chicago is known as one of the coldest cities in America.
Yes.
Had you experienced any kind of cold like that before? Was it as cold in Croatia as it was in Chicago?
Oh yeah, the same.
You talk about the Jewish community helping you adjust to,
Yes.
the rest of your life. Was there
Yes.
a strong Jewish community in Chicago?
Strong Jewish community in Croatia.
Mm-hmm.
In Zagreb.
Though we got big help from Jewish community all over America. They sent money for us in Croatia. They sent packages with food. First time I have peanut butter.
Wow.
I didn't know what is peanut butter. American cheese. I don't know, do you want to know those things?
Yes. Yes, those are great.
Exactly what I didn't tell you. Coming to America, when we sold everything what we own, we have enough money for 2 airplane tickets, and we need 3rd airplane tickets, and we borrow money. And by the end of my husband's residency, I was able to save $200. We pay back what we own for our 3rd tickets, and I still save $200. I was walking far away because milk in one store, milk was 45 cents a gallon. And chicken backs and necks, they were 7 cents a pound. And I bought those and make soup for me, and I always have decent piece of meat for Ruth, and my husband was eating in the hospital. This is how we manage first year in America.
So you were walking to get the 45 cent a gallon milk?
Of course.
What was it if you didn't walk?
Pardon?
How much money was it if you didn't walk?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I know that was the cheapest.
You learned the English language after a while. Your family adjusted to the United States. How long would you say that period was? How, in terms of getting to where you had adjusted to life here?
In America, it took me a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. At what moment did you realize you had made the adjustment?
The moment when I have to take care of 2 of my children. I couldn't depend on my husband, tell me this, would you translate for me this and that. He was working all day and I was mom. We decided that I will stay at home because we are both orphans and we grew up without any parents, and we decide for our children, mom will stay at home. When they turn 16 and they start to drive, then I went back to work.
What is the biggest lesson you take from your time in the concentration camp?
I am approaching my 87th birthday, and I don't want my story to die with me. I just want to keep alive as much as possible. This is the reason why I'm all doing that. Maybe someday it will never happen again, no matter who you are.
Do you ever see things happening right now where you wonder?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I'm mad as hell.
Do you mind telling me what about?
Well, I don't want to go to politics, but it is politics in this. Keep me out of this. What can I tell you? We know what's going on. Politicians are involved, and we normal people, we don't have too much to say. Did I said correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you handled it without getting political.
Okay.
And you,
When we came to America, I never ever expected that it will be anti-Semitism, but it is, and it is big.
at least back then, you knew where it was coming from.
Yes, we came here and said, "Oh my God, we are in free country. We can talk."
Mm-hmm. When you had to forgo starting school, so until you were 10 years old,
Yes,
did that have an effect on you the rest of your life?
yes, it was. It is.
Was it in terms of being able to learn? Or
I was always feeling that I am less worthy than other children.
Mm-hmm. And how
I have complex.
Even to this day?
I hope not.
I hope not. I don't think you do.
No, I'm talking.
Exactly. You say you never recover from it.
You always remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any bitterness in me because that will be wrong. How can you live all your life to be bitter?
Mm-hmm.
That is no way to live your life. I try to overcome all of this, but it is always in you, something what you cannot forget. My story, I don't have to write down. It is everything here.
You know,
In the story, we never mention our son, Dean. He was born in Chicago when was the big snow. January 1967. It was the biggest storm of the century in Chicago.
what's that, 80 inches?
Oh my God, it was more than that.
More like, I think, 100.
I came home from the hospital, I couldn't have delivery diapers, we ordered diapers to be delivered. I couldn't go out, my husband couldn't go out to buy formula for him. Oh, we couldn't wait for 5 years to pass to become American citizens. On the way to the courthouse, when we were supposed to swear in, we stopped in the fancy store, Marshall Field. And first what we did, we bought American flag. And in the hand, we carried that American flag all the way to the
Federal courthouse.
courthouse.